Welcome to Braves Country. Braves Country today on the Armchair Quarterback Show. And Atlanta gets a big W last night, splitting the doubleheader with the New York Mets. Atlanta loses the first game 4-2 versus Jacob deGrom. That's pretty much expected. When you go up against Jacob deGrom and his .50 ERA, it's absolutely ridiculous at this point what he's doing on the diamond nowadays. They did put a little life, a little scare into the Mets, which you like to see in that first game. But deGrom, in a short game like that, you're asking for a Herculean task. And they did not get any help. The ground rule double that bounced off that sponge that they call warning track in Citi Field pretty much led to them being able to get out of the inning. For those that missed that part, the runner on first absolutely scores if this happens. Absolutely scores if they do not get the ground rule double. The ball goes in and it freaking bounces off of the damn sponge that is the warning track, goes over the wall, and you've now got runners on second and third, and that's great. But there's 2 outs, and you're expected at that point to get a base knock against the best pitcher in baseball. So that sucks. And, of course, Sandoval comes in and he pops out. It ends that rally. And then the next thing up, you know, the Braves end up giving up a couple of giving up 3 more runs in the bottom of the 5th where the bullpen fell apart. Sean Newcomb came in and he basically tried to shut down what Shane Greene started. Shane Greene has been a disaster since he's came back. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's had plenty of time. They signed this guy, and it's kind of funny how all the Braves, I mean, the Braves fan base on Twitter is just an absolute joke. If you ever pay attention to it, it is just an absolute joke. They are very knee-jerk reaction. A month ago, they wanted to back up the truck and make sure you sign this guy. Last night, everyone's talking about DFAing him. So it's just, you know, the stupidity, you can't go off the idiots that you see on social media. You just can't. You know, they get emotionally invested. And so keep that in mind when you see this kind of stuff. But Shane Greene still has the talent. We just got to figure out what the hell's wrong with him and quit. I guess at this point, Shane Greene has got to be put in the very front of the bullpen, meaning non-high leverage situations, because granted, Sean Newcomb was the one on the mound when the 3 runs were scored, but the bases were loaded when he got brought in. So the mess was created by Greene. Everybody wanted to kill Newcomb after the game, which is kind of funny because it's like, it's not him. He's not the one that set this up. Sean Newcomb has not pitched great this year, but Sean Newcomb does have a 19.64 ERA. Shane Greene does. And so, anyways, the Atlanta Braves end up losing that game. They lose the game 4-2. It was a doubleheader. So it was a 7-inning game. And so then last night, Atlanta goes into the 9th inning up 1-0. Ian Anderson pitched a whale of a ball game. He always seems to do that in the big spots. He loves pitching in New York. He goes out and 5 1/3. You would have liked to have seen a solid 6, but he started getting a little rocky, so they pull him, and it's a 1-run game. So you can't really fault them for not leaving him out there. It was the 2 hits that he had, or the 2 balls that were hit in that inning, they were absolutely scorched. It was time to get him out of the game. Mitchell comes in, finishes it off. Will Smith, once again, he's not a shutdown closer. He just happens to be our closer at this point. And he had a rocky 9th inning once again. So we're sitting there watching this and kind of cringing. And it's an understatement to say at the edge of my seat, because you get the bases loaded, 1 out is what he worked himself into. A scorcher gets hit down the third base line. Luckily, Austin Riley was standing right there. And the next, and so if you missed it, Riley catches the ball, tries to tag third base as he's diving. Runner barely gets back. So now you got bases loaded and 2 out. Will Smith finds a way to get it done. But I'll tell you this much. At no point during that at bat versus Drury did I feel comfortable. He had 2 balls that he ripped down the third base line. Granted, they were far foul. That was kind of the point. They keep calling it a cutter. It doesn't look like, it doesn't cut. It's a Frisbee. It is so slow that you can't call that thing a cutter. It's almost like a slurve that has no curve to it. And I really wish he would quit throwing it to right-handed hitters, because it's terrible. Even when it doesn't go fair, it gets tattooed. That's not a typical, and look, I get it. He's trying to get the strikeout. He's trying to get the strikeout in front of him. I get all of that. And I understand all of that. But there's such a small margin for error for that pitch for a closer to be throwing. Literally, I call it the Frisbee. Glavine and company would keep referring to it as a cutter, but it's not a cutter. It's not a true cutter. It might be his version of a cutter, but a true cutter has speed and it cuts in. This thing that just kind of Frisbees in over the plate. It's the same pitch that has been knocked out of the damn park on several occasions. Now, the one thing that you want now, Braves get out of it. We split. That's the big picture. Still 5 games out. But this is where the rubber meets the road. We knew we probably weren't going to beat DeGrom, especially when they decided to put Muller up against DeGrom as opposed to Ian Anderson. That, in hindsight, that was probably you can argue it both ways, but I guess it was probably the smart decision because you didn't want to waste your start with Ian Anderson. So you wanted to make sure you got a W. They really expect you to score more runs in the second game. And to be honest with you, Eichhoff battled the entire time. The home run by ACUNA is essentially what wins the game, right? 1-0. But the Braves had him on the ropes in the first inning. He went 4 innings. He was on the ropes almost the entire time. ACUNA, you gotta love the whole this. After the Mets fans were giving him the business, I loved that because it reminded me shades of Chipper when they used to call out Larry. They were trying to give him the business, but look, ACUNA stepped up. If he has a lot of fun with it, I don't think there's anything wrong on both sides. The Mets fans are going to be the Mets fans. Let the Mets fans give him a hard time. That's the whole point of going to a ball game. It's the same thing like Braves fans do to Bryce Harper. And it's a part of the fun for ACUNA to have fun with them, right? So I thought that was all in good jest. They weren't a big fan of his because when he gunned down Pete Alonso at third base earlier in the game, that really the Mets base running last night was atrocious. But of course, everyone started, sharing the video and saying you don't run on ACUNA. Look, I don't know why Alonso thought he could go first to third on ACUNA. The guy's got one of the best arms in the game, and he's extremely accurate most of the time. And that was a hell of a tag by Riley too. And I think that kind of got overshadowed. That was a hell of a tag by Riley. Riley played a great third base all day yesterday, by the way. There's a couple of plays he didn't make, but man, they were getting scorched. I mean, that was literally the hot corner yesterday. So all in all, what I take away from this was it was a pretty good doubleheader win. You would have liked to have gotten the first game, sure. But at the same token, going up against DeGrom, you know what you're up against. You do. And maybe they win if they put Ian Anderson out on the bump versus DeGrom. Maybe Ian Anderson. I would have liked to have seen it, to be honest with you, because I really would have liked, I get the logic behind it, but I would have liked to have seen a showdown of DeGrom versus Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson steps up in these big moments. I think we look, considering how well Mueller pitched, he could have pitched game 2, and I think the Braves would have had a decent chance at winning that game. Now, you could have struck out all the way and lost the doubleheader, and I get that, and it worked out splitting the doubleheader. But when you're down 5 games, I would have liked to see a little more aggressiveness out of the guys up top. I don't know if Snicker makes the actual decisions anymore, the way Major League Baseball is set up, but I would have liked to have seen whoever made that decision, whether it was Snicker, whether it was the front office, because of all the analytics that they do nowadays, whoever made the decision, I would have liked to have seen Ian Anderson go toe-to-toe with DeGrom. I think the fans would have liked it too, and Atlanta probably wins that game. And that gives you some kind of a bravado going into the rest of the year that you can go into New York and beat DeGrom. Ian Anderson pitched just as well, if not better, than DeGrom yesterday. Today, Charlie Morton versus Stroman. 7:10 first pitch. We're back in New York. This is a big, big game for Charlie Morton. We hope to see more of the same as he did yesterday. Last time out yesterday. But if he doesn't, the Braves are going to be in trouble. Marcus Stroman is one hell of a pitcher. He really is one hell of a pitcher. And Morton has got to go out there, and for whom the bell tolls, he's got to get out there and stand up and be the guy. The Braves are going to have a hard time putting runs up on Marcus Stroman. Yes, tomorrow's starter has not been announced, by the way, for the Mets. It will be Max Fried for Atlanta, but they have had a rash of injuries, and hopefully the Braves can take advantage of it, because at this point, down 5 games, it's not do or die time. You need to at least split, because you don't want to go down 7 games. But I will say this, splitting the next 2 games is not ideal. You need to get W's, and it's going to be difficult. Stroman can be gotten, but if you get him on a roll, it's going to be a long day. Charlie Morton has got to be Charlie Morton like he was the last time out for the Braves to have a shot at winning this. The Mets offense is not that explosive. They're all about their pitching. Their bullpen has taken a lot of injuries the last few days. With that being said, if you can get Stroman out of the game, there's an opportunity to score there. And they used quite a bit of their ammunition yesterday. We're going to go and get out of here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Braves Country today will react to Morton versus Stroman tonight and look ahead to the final game of the series, which will be Matt Fried against to be determined. And hopefully we'll have a determination by tomorrow morning. We'll see you. Have a great day, Braves fans. Please like, share, and subscribe to our show today.
You're in Braves Country.